So you might not understand what those signs mean, and it's pretty common that you wouldn't because ASL isn't really commonly taught in school or other places. So basically what I said is, can you hear me? Which for deaf people, it would be, can you see me? So what we will go over today is why ASL was created, so basically the history behind it, why kids in like elementary school and younger school should be taught basic signing, and also like the letter signing. How it could help everyone and not just the deaf community, and offering ASL in high school classes and maybe even middle school classes for a language credit. First, I will start with my concession statement. So cochlear implants or hearing aids have been known to be improved through the medical history with deaf culture. So deaf people who are literally 100% deaf will get these implants and they will be able to hear everything around them. But there are a lot of people who would rather just sign instead of hearing. So why we have ASL? It's for communication between deaf and the hearing and deaf. So it originated from LSF, so language des signes français, which was in France, and there were 3 countries that kind of participated in this, and it was Italy, France, and Spain. And 3 of the people were Juan de Bonnet, Geronimo Gardano, and Abby Dewey Epp. And basically they all knew someone who was deaf and they thought that education was important for them. So they all made ways of communication for deaf to still get an education. So why kids should learn basic signing. The sooner you begin, the easier it will become to actually communicate and they'll actually advance their education. Children also begin to learn fine motor skills before they actually learn to vocalize properly. And you can start teaching children as early as 6 months, but sometimes they won't actually pick up on it until about 8 or 9 months. Baby signing also helps cut out frustration between parents and the child because like more or I'm done or food can be used to communicate to the parent and for the child to tell their parent like, hey, I'm hungry over here. And then this is a video that I actually found on Facebook, and I feel like it's like a really important video.
Are you deaf?
So the spasms.
He was just trying to communicate. Take the restraints off. Can you read lips? Great. What's your name? Everyone, this is Ethan.
All right, so in that clip, we kind of saw that it was a medical emergency and that our surgeon noticed that the patient was freaking out, but the patient was freaking out simply because he had no clue what was going on and he couldn't communicate because his hands were tied up. So how it could help more than the deaf community is learning sign language actually helps with spelling and vocabulary because you have to learn more than one word and you a lot of times use compound words. It also has been shown to improve classroom behaviors because students, instead of raising their hand and yelling across from, hey, I need to go to the bathroom, they can just sign it to their teacher and their teacher can be like, yes, you can go. It also improves motor skills, obviously because you're using your hands a lot, so you have to be pretty fluent in movement. And it just overall builds communication skills. You have to use body language. You have to use body language and facial expressions. Like you can't just be like dead monotone face while trying to sign something, because a lot of times if it's a question, like she asks what your name is, she kind of lowered her eyebrows in like a question stance. So the picture over here is from White Chicks, and she simply has her mouth shoved with food and she's trying to talk, and it's just inappropriate. It's like inappropriate and just rude. So I've discussed how you can sign instead of talking during dinner time, and it's actually like quite helpful. Another thing is if you're in a robbery at a bank during a situation, you can sign to the people across from you trying to be quiet, or sign for someone to maybe pull an alarm or something like that, instead of shouting across the room, hey, you want to pull that alarm over there? So it's quite nice. Having ASL as a class option as well, it can be used everywhere in every type of situation. You might work in retail, you might work in a restaurant, you could work medical field, and it's like in the video shown, it helps. It also inspires careers in interpreting, which is kind of low right now. So like there aren't as many interpreters as are technically needed. So there's also been an increase in hearing loss across like the United States and stuff like that. So having interpreters and stuff and being able to assign to people helps a lot. Also, the classes are offered in college, so why can't they be offered to us in high school or middle school as a credit instead of maybe French or Spanish? That's a little bit harder for us to understand and maybe isn't quite as useful for some of us depending on the careers that we're going into. The kids that are learning sign language. So to recap, we went over why ASL was created, why kids should have the opportunity to learn basic signs, how it could help everyone in the whole community, not just the deaf community, and offering ASL as a class in high school, not just in colleges and stuff like that. And then I also talked about my concession statement. So we checked that one off our list. Thank you for staying with me.